Jake Morrison sat in the pilot seat of his old cargo ship. The ship was called the Iron Wolf. It was not pretty to look at. The paint was old and peeling. The engines made strange noises, but it could still fly between the stars, and that was all Jake needed. He was broke. Again. The last job had gone bad. The alien customs officers took his cargo at the border. They said his papers were wrong. Jake knew they just wanted to steal his goods. But there was nothing he could do about it. Humans had no power in this part of space. Now Jake was sitting on Nexus Prime Station. It was a dirty place where all kinds of aliens came to do business. Most of them did not like humans. They thought humans were weak and stupid. Jake had learned to keep his mouth shut and mind his own business. He was drinking cheap coffee in a cantina when the alien approached him. The creature was tall and thin with gray skin. It had 4 arms and big black eyes. Jake had seen this type before. "They were called hegemony merchants. You are Jake Morrison?" the alien asked. Its voice was high and squeaky. "Yeah, that's me." Jake did not look up from his coffee. "I have work for you. Good pay." Now Jake looked up. He needed money badly. "What kind of work?" The alien sat down across from him. "Simple cargo run. Pick up package on this station. Take it to mining colony in the Outer Rim, very easy." "How much?" Jake asked. 50,000 credits. Jake almost choked on his coffee. That was more money than he made in a year. "What's the catch?" "No catch. Just cargo that needs special care. Temperature controlled." Must arrive in 3 days, Jake thought about it. The job sounded too good to be true. But he was desperate. His ship needed repairs. He needed food. He needed fuel. And 50,000 credits would solve all his problems. "What kind of cargo?" he asked. The alien's big eyes looked around the cantina. "Better to discuss this privately. Meet me at Docking Bay 7 in 1 hour. Bring your ship papers." The alien stood up and walked away. Jake finished his coffee and thought about the offer. Every instinct told him this was trouble. But he was out of options. 1 hour later, Jake walked into Docking Bay 7. His ship was parked next to a much nicer hegemony transport. The alien was waiting for him with 2 guards. They were big and carried weapons. "Good. You came," the alien said. "I am Veltar. This is your cargo." Veltar pointed to a metal box the size of a coffin. It had tubes and wires connected to it. Jake could hear machines humming inside. "What's in it?" Jake asked. "Live cargo. A debt slave. Being transferred to new owner on Mining World." Jake felt sick. He had heard about debt slavery. Poor aliens who could not pay their bills were sold to work in mines and factories. It was legal in hegemony space, but it made Jake angry. "I don't transport slaves," Jake said. "Not slave. Debt worker. Very different. And very legal." Veltar held up a data pad. "Here are transfer papers. All official." Jake looked at the papers. They seemed real. And 50,000 credits was 50,000 credits. "The container has life support?" Jake asked. "Yes, subject is in stasis sleep. Will not wake up during transport." "Very safe." Jake walked around the box. It looked like the stasis pods used in hospitals. The person inside would be asleep the whole trip. They would not even know they were being moved. "Payment up front," Jake said. Veltar nodded and handed him a credit chip. Jake checked it. 50,000 credits, just as promised. "Loaded on my ship," Jake told his maintenance crew. It took an hour to move the stasis pod onto the Iron Wolf and connect it to the ship's power. Jake ran through his pre-flight checks. Everything looked good. "Remember," Veltar said as Jake prepared to leave, 3 days maximum. "The mining colony is expecting delivery." Jake nodded and closed the cargo bay. He did not like this job, but money was money. The first day of the trip went smoothly. Jake flew through hyperspace toward the Outer Rim. The stasis pod sat quietly in his cargo hold. Sometimes Jake went back to check on it. The machines beeped softly. Green lights showed that everything was working. On the second day, something went wrong. Jake was eating breakfast when the alarm started. Red lights flashed in the cargo bay. He ran back to check the stasis pod. One of the life support machines was smoking. Sparks shot from broken wires. No, Jake said. He grabbed a fire extinguisher and put out the sparks. But the damage was done. The stasis system was failing. Jake looked at the readings. The person inside the pod was starting to wake up. If he did not get them out soon, they would die. Jake had 2 choices. He could let the cargo die and lose his payment. Or he could wake them up and deal with whatever happened next. He chose to save a life. Jake opened the emergency release. The pod hissed as pressure escaped. Slowly, the lid opened. Inside was a young female alien. She had blue skin and silver hair. She was beautiful, but she looked very scared. Her eyes opened. They were bright green like emeralds. She sat up quickly and looked around. "Where am I?" she asked. Her voice was soft and musical. "On my ship. Your stasis pod broke. I had to wake you up or you would have died." She stared at him. "You are human." "Yeah, name's Jake. What's yours?" She was quiet for a moment. "Zara, my name is Zara." "Well, Zara, you're safe now. We'll reach the mining colony tomorrow." Her face went white. "Mining colony? No, you cannot take me there. I have to. That's the job. You do not understand. They will kill me if you take me there." Jake looked at her. She seemed really scared.
"Why would they kill you?"
"You're just a debt worker, right?" Zara laughed, but it was not a happy sound.
"Is that what they told you?"
"That I am a debt worker? Yeah, your master sold your contract to the mining company." "My master? Who told you this?" "The merchant who hired me." "Veltar." Zara's face went even whiter. "Veltar is not a merchant. He is a kidnapper. And I am not a debt worker." Jake felt cold inside. "Then who are you?" Before Zara could answer, the ship's communication system beeped. A message was coming in. Jake went to the cockpit to check it. Zara followed him. The message was from the mining colony, but the person on the screen was not a mining supervisor. It was a hegemony military officer. "Transport vessel Iron Wolf. This is Commander Thex of the Hegemony Fleet. You will dock at landing pad 3 and surrender your cargo immediately. Any attempt to flee will result in your destruction." Jake turned off the communicator. He looked at Zara. "What did you do?" "I trusted the wrong person," she said quietly. "And so did you." Outside the ship, Jake could see lights in the distance. They were not from a mining colony. They were from hegemony warships. Jake had been set up, and now he was in more trouble than he had ever imagined. Jake stared at the warships outside his window. There were 5 of them. Big, dangerous-looking ships with enough weapons to turn the Iron Wolf into space dust. "Tell me the truth," Jake said to Zara. "Who are you, really?" Zara took a deep breath. "My name is Zara Lynn. I am the princess of the Valyrian Empire." Jake felt like someone had hit him in the stomach. "A princess? You're telling me I kidnapped an alien princess?" "You did not kidnap me. Veltar did. He was supposed to take me to marry Prince Vextar of the Hegemony. The marriage would make peace between our empires. But Veltar decided to sell me instead. And now the Hegemony thinks I stole you." "Yes." Jake sat down hard in his pilot chair. This was bad, very bad. Stealing an alien princess was the kind of crime that started wars. The communication system beeped again. Commander Thex appeared on the screen. He was a big alien with red skin and sharp teeth. "Human pilot, you have 10 minutes to surrender the princess. If you refuse, we will destroy your ship." Jake turned off the communicator again. He looked at the warships. Even if he wanted to run, there was nowhere to go. His ship was old and slow. The hegemony ships were fast and had powerful weapons. "I have to give you back," Jake said. "I'm sorry, but I don't want to die." Zara grabbed his arm. "Please, if you give me back, they will force me to marry Vexitar. He is cruel and evil. I will spend my life as his prisoner. But if I don't give you back, they'll kill us both, then run. Please, you are human. Your people are famous for never giving up." Jake looked at her green eyes. He could see the fear there, and something else. Hope. Jake had been a soldier once. He had fought in wars. He had seen what happened to people who were forced to do things against their will. It was wrong, and Jake had never been good at doing the wrong thing. "Hold on," he said. Jake's hands moved over the controls. He fired up the engines and spun the ship around. The Iron Wolf shot away from the fake mining colony as fast as it could go. Behind them, the hegemony ships gave chase. "Warning shots," Jake said as energy beams flashed past his ship. "They want you alive, but that would not last long." Jake knew the commander would get tired of playing games soon. Jake flew toward an asteroid field. It was dangerous, but it might give them a chance. Big ships had trouble flying between asteroids. Small ships like the Iron Wolf could hide there. "Why are you helping me?" Zara asked. "Because it's the right thing to do," Jake said. He dodged a large asteroid. "And because I don't like bullies." They made it into the asteroid field. The hegemony ships followed, but they had to slow down. Jake used his old military training to fly between the rocks. The Iron Wolf was small enough to fit through spaces the big ships could not follow. After an hour of flying, Jake found a good hiding spot inside a hollow asteroid. He turned off the engines and waited. The hegemony ship searched for a while, then gave up and left. "Are we safe?" Zara asked. "For now. But they'll be back with more ships. And they'll call for help." Jake was right. Within hours, news of the missing princess was spreading across the galaxy. Both the Valerian Empire and the hegemony sent fleets to look for her. The bounty on Jake's head was bigger than the cost of a small planet. Jake used his emergency communicator to call his old friend, Ben Carter. Ben was a commander in the Earth Defense Fleet. Maybe he could help. "Jake? Where are you? Every alien in the galaxy is looking for you." "I know. I need help, Ben." "Help?" "Jake, you kidnapped an alien princess. Earth's government wants to hand you over before this starts a war." "I didn't kidnap her. She was kidnapped. I just saved her life." "That's not what the aliens are saying. They say you stole her to sell her to the highest bidder." Jake looked at Zara. She was listening to every word. "Ben, she asked me not to take her back." "What was I supposed to do?" "Follow orders. Do your job. Stay alive." Ben's voice was tired. "Look, Jake, I want to help you. But Earth can't get involved in this. We're not strong enough to fight two galactic empires. So you're just going to let them kill me? I'm going to try to keep you alive long enough to surrender. Give up the princess, Jake. It's your only chance." Jake turned off the communicator. He felt alone and scared. But when he looked at Zara, he knew he could not give up. "I heard," she said, "your own people will not help you. My government won't help. But my people might be different." Jake started the engines again. "We need to find somewhere safe to think." They flew to an old space station on the edge of human space. It was a rough place where smugglers and pirates came to trade, but Jake knew people there who owed him favors. The station master was a gruff man named Pete Collins. He had known Jake for years. "You picked a hell of a time to visit," Pete said when Jake docked. "Half the galaxy wants your head." "I need fuel and supplies," Jake said, "and I need to not get blown up by alien warships. You being here puts my station in danger." Jake showed Pete his credit chip. 50,000 credits for fuel and food. "And you forget you saw me." Pete's eyes got wide. 50,000? What did you steal, the crown jewels?" "Something like that." While Pete's crew worked on the ship, Jake and Zara sat in a cantina. Jake noticed how other humans looked at Zara. They were curious but not afraid. Some even smiled at her. "Your people are different," Zara said. "How do you mean?" "Most species fear aliens who are more powerful than them. But humans seem curious instead of afraid." An old woman approached their table. She was small and gray-haired, but her eyes were sharp. "You're the one with the princess," she said. Jake tensed. "I don't know what you're talking about," the woman laughed. "Relax, son. I'm not going to turn you in. I just wanted to say good for you." "Good for me?" "For standing up to those alien bullies. My grandson died fighting in their war. He was just a kid, but they drafted him anyway. Time someone stood up to them." The woman walked away. Jake felt something warm in his chest. Maybe he was not as alone as he thought. But the warm feeling did not last long. Pete came running into the cantina. "Jake, you need to leave now. There's a hegemony fleet coming. Big one." Through the station windows, Jake could see ships approaching. "Lots of them. How did they find us?" Jake asked. "Someone must have reported seeing your ship," Pete said. Jake and Zara ran back to the Iron Wolf. Jake fired up the engines as fast as he could, but it was too late. The hegemony ships surrounded the station. "This is Prince Vextar of the Hegemony Royal Fleet," a voice said over the radio. "Human station, surrender the criminals immediately or we will destroy you all." Jake felt cold. Prince Vextar himself was here. The alien that Zara was supposed to marry. "Jake," Pete said over the radio, "you need to run. We'll hold them off as long as we can. Pete, they'll destroy the station. Maybe. But we're not going to let them take you without a fight. Good luck, kid." Jake watched as human defense ships launched from the station. They were small and old, but they flew straight at the hegemony fleet. Jake used the confusion to escape. As the Iron Wolf flew away, he could see the battle behind them. The humans were badly outnumbered, but they fought bravely. "They are fighting for us," Zara said quietly. "They're fighting for what's right," Jake said. But Jake knew this was just the beginning. Word would spread about what happened at the station. Soon everyone in the galaxy would know that humans were willing to fight the great alien empires. And that would make them even more dangerous. Jake flew the Iron Wolf through empty space. They had been running for 3 days now. His ship was low on fuel and food. Worse, every jump point was being watched by alien ships. "We cannot run forever," Zara said. She was sitting in the co-pilot seat watching the scanner. "I know, but I don't know what else to do." Jake had been thinking hard. The whole galaxy was looking for them. Both alien empires wanted Zara back. Even Earth's government wanted to hand him over. He felt trapped. "There might be another way," Zara said quietly. "What do you mean?" "I have been thinking about what that old woman said at the station. About standing up to bullies. Maybe running is not the answer." Jake looked at her. "What are you thinking?" "Tell the truth. Show the galaxy what really happened. Make them understand that I chose to leave. Who would believe us? We're just a cargo pilot and a runaway princess." "Maybe. But I know someone who might help." Zara told Jake about Elder Kethra. She was an old advisor who had helped raise Zara. More importantly, she knew secrets about both empires that could change everything. "She helped me escape in the first place," Zara explained. "She gave Veltar information about my travel plans, but she did not know he would try to sell me." "Where is she now?" "Hiding on a neutral world called Haven. It is a place where refugees go when they have nowhere else to turn." Jake had heard of Haven. It was a small planet that took in people fleeing from wars and persecution. The planet was protected by an old treaty that even the great empires respected. It took 2 days to reach Haven. Jake had to avoid 3 hegemony patrol fleets and 1 Valerian search group. His ship was running on emergency power when they finally landed. Haven was not much to look at. The buildings were simple and practical, but Jake could see people from dozens of different species walking the streets together. Humans worked next to aliens. Everyone seemed peaceful. Elder Kethra was waiting for them at the spaceport. She was an old Valerian with gray skin and wise eyes. When she saw Zara, she smiled. "My child, I was so worried about you." "Elder Kethra, this is Jake Morrison. He saved my life." The old alien looked at Jake carefully. "A human. Interesting. Your people have a reputation for being stubborn." "Some would say that," Jake replied. Kethra led them to a small house on the edge of town. Inside, Jake was surprised to see other people waiting. There was a young hegemony officer, a Valerian scientist, and even a few humans. "Welcome to our little group of rebels," Kethra said. "Rebels?" Jake asked. "People who are tired of living under the boot of empires," said the hegemony officer. His name was Zex, and he had scars on his face. "I was a soldier until I saw what my government really did to innocent people." The Valerian scientist was named Dr. Lina. She had been working on weapons for the Empire until she realized they would be used to hurt civilians. "Both empires are planning something terrible," Dr. Lina explained. "The marriage between Zara and Prince Vextar is not just about peace. It is about combining their armies to conquer the smaller worlds." Jake felt sick. Conquer them? Hundreds of worlds, including Earth. They plan to divide the galaxy between them. Kethra nodded sadly. "I tried to stop the marriage by helping Zara escape, but Veltar's betrayal made things worse. Now both empires are so angry they might start the war early." "Then we have to stop them," Jake said. "How?" asked one of the humans. "We're just a handful of people against 2 galactic empires." Jake stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see families from different worlds living together peacefully. Children were playing in the streets. It reminded him why freedom was worth fighting for. "We tell everyone the truth," Jake said. "We show the galaxy what the empires really plan to do." "And how do we do that?" Zex asked. Jake turned around. An idea was forming in his mind. A crazy, dangerous idea. "There's a big meeting happening next week on Harmony Station. All the alien leaders will be there to discuss what to do about us." "What if we showed up uninvited?" Everyone stared at him. "You want to fly into the most heavily guarded station in the galaxy?" Dr. Lina asked. "Yes, with proof of what the empires are really planning. If we can broadcast it to the whole galaxy during the meeting, everyone will know the truth." Kethra smiled. "It is a very human plan. Completely insane, but it might work." "I have data files that prove everything," Dr. Lina said. "Invasion plans, target lists, everything. And I know the security codes for Harmony Station," Zex added. "They have not changed them since I left the military." Jake looked at Zara. "What do you think?" "I think it is time I stopped running and started fighting back." They spent the next week planning. Harmony Station was a massive space city that hosted diplomatic meetings. It would be full of ships from every major empire. Getting in would be hard. Getting out alive would be even harder. But they had advantages, too. Jake knew how to fly and fight. Zex knew alien military tactics. Dr. Lina understood their technology. And Zara knew all the political secrets that could bring down both empires. The plan was simple. Jake would fly a small ship to the station disguised as a supply vessel. Zara would hide in the cargo hold. Once inside, she would make her way to the main meeting hall while Jake hacked into the station's communication system. "Remember," Kethra said as they prepared to leave, "you are not just fighting for yourselves. You are fighting for every free being in the galaxy." Jake felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders, but he also felt something else: hope. As the Iron Wolf left Haven's atmosphere, Jake noticed other ships following them. Word was spreading about their mission. Rebels from a dozen worlds were coming to help. "Look at that," Zara said, pointing out the window. In the distance, Jake could see a small fleet of ships. They were all different types and sizes. Some were human. Others belonged to alien species he had never seen before. But they all flew together toward Harmony Station. "We are not alone anymore," Zara said. Jake smiled. "No, we're not." But as they approached Harmony Station, Jake's smile faded. The station was surrounded by the largest fleet of warships he had ever seen. Hegemony vessels on one side, Valerian ships on the other, and in the middle sleek vessels belonging to Prince Vextar's personal guard. "It's a trap," Jake said. "Of course it is," Zara replied. "Did you think it would be easy?" Jake checked his weapons and made sure his ship was ready for battle. Behind him, the rebel fleet spread out in attack formation. This would be the biggest fight of Jake's life, and maybe the last fight for freedom in the galaxy. Jake flew his ship toward Harmony Station. Around him, hundreds of warships waited like hungry wolves. The station itself was huge, bigger than most cities. Its lights sparkled in the darkness of space. "Entering the station's scanning range," Jake said into his radio. "Everyone remember the plan." Behind him, the rebel fleet spread out. They were badly outnumbered, but they had surprise on their side. The Empire ships were not expecting a fight. They thought they were just there to watch Jake surrender. "Unknown vessel, identify yourself," came a voice from the station. "Supply ship Blue River," Jake replied, using the fake name Zex had given him. "Delivering food supplies to the diplomatic conference. You are not on our schedule. Emergency delivery." The Valerian delegation requested additional rare foods for their dinner tonight. There was a pause. Jake held his breath. If this did not work, the shooting would start early. "Proceed to docking bay 12. You will be searched upon arrival." Jake let out his breath. "We're in." The Iron Wolf docked at the station. Jake and Zara put on disguises. Jake wore the uniform of a station worker. Zara covered her distinctive blue skin with makeup and dressed like a servant. "Security teams are everywhere," Zara whispered, as they walked through the station corridors. Jake could see what she meant. Alien soldiers stood at every intersection. Their weapons were ready. Everyone looked nervous. They made their way toward the main conference hall. Inside, leaders from across the galaxy were meeting to decide what to do about the human problem. Jake could hear angry voices through the walls. "The humans must be punished," someone was saying. "They have shown they cannot be trusted." "Princess Zara must be returned immediately," said another voice. Jake recognized it as Prince Vextar. "The human who stole her will face justice." Jake and Zara reached a maintenance room near the conference hall. Dr. Lina was already there, working on a computer terminal. "I'm almost into their communication system," she whispered. "A few more minutes and I can broadcast to the entire galaxy." But they did not have a few more minutes. Alarms suddenly started ringing throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the corridors. "Security breach in docking bay 12, announced a mechanical voice. "All units respond." "They found our ship," Jake said. Through the walls they could hear shouting and running footsteps. The conference was breaking up as security teams searched the station. "I need more time," Dr. Lina said, her fingers flying over the controls. "We don't have more time," Jake replied. He looked at Zara. "You need to go. Get to the conference hall and tell them the truth." "What about you?" "I'll buy you time, go." Zara hesitated, then nodded. She slipped out of the maintenance room and headed toward the conference hall. Jake checked his weapon and followed her into the corridor. Almost immediately, he ran into a patrol of hegemony soldiers. They were big aliens with armor and energy rifles. Stop. Identify yourself. One of them shouted. Instead of answering, Jake dived behind a corner as energy bolts flashed past his head. He fired back with his pistol, forcing the soldiers to take cover. Human in Section 7. The soldier called into his radio. Send backup. Jake ran down the corridor as more soldiers arrived. Behind him, he could hear Dr. Lena still working on the computer. He had to keep the soldiers away from her. Meanwhile, Zara reached the conference hall. The doors were guarded, but she walked up to them confidently. I need to speak to the assembled leaders, she told the guards. No one enters without permission, one guard replied. I am Princess Zaralyn of the Valerian Empire. I think they will want to see me. The guards looked at each other uncertainly. Finally, one of them opened the door. Zara walked into the huge conference hall. Hundreds of alien leaders sat in rows of seats. At the front, Prince Vextar stood at a podium speaking angrily about humans. When Zara appeared, the hall went completely silent. Hello, Vextar, she said calmly. Prince Vextar stared at her. He was a tall alien with red skin and sharp teeth. His eyes burned with anger. Zara, you have finally come to your senses. Yes, Zara replied. I have. She walked to the center of the hall where everyone could see her. Leaders from dozens of worlds watched in amazement. I have something to tell you all, Zara announced. About why I really left home. Guards, Vextar shouted. Arrest the human who kidnapped her. I was not kidnapped, Zara said loudly. I chose to leave. And I know why, she pointed at Vextar. Because he and my father planned to use our marriage to start a war. Not to make peace, but to conquer the galaxy. The hall erupted in shocked voices. Leaders began talking loudly to each other. She is lying, Vextar snarled. The human has filled her head with propaganda. Am I lying? Zara asked. She pulled out a datapad. Then explain these invasion plans. Explain why your fleets are already moving toward neutral worlds. Dr. Lina had given her copies of the secret files. Now Zara began reading from them. Operation Starfall. Phase 1, eliminate human colonies. Phase 2, occupy mining worlds. Phase 3, divide remaining systems between Valerian Empire and Hegemony. The alien leaders looked stunned. Some began checking their own datapads, confirming what Zara was saying. Back in the corridors, Jake was fighting for his life. More soldiers had arrived and he was running out of ammunition. Energy bolts flashed past his head as he dived from cover to cover. Target is heading for Section 9, a soldier reported. Block all exits. Jake knew he was trapped. But then he heard a familiar voice on his radio. Jake, this is Ben Carter. Earth Defense Fleet is here. Hold on. Through the station windows, Jake could see new ships arriving. Human vessels flying in formation. They were smaller than the Empire ships, but there were many of them. The fighting had started outside too. Jake could see flashes of weapons fire as human ships battled alien vessels. All human vessels, this is Admiral Kate Sullivan, came a voice over the radio. Any being seeking freedom and protection is welcome to join us. In the conference hall, Zara continued reading the secret plans. The alien leaders were getting more upset with each revelation. This is madness, said one leader. Our worlds were promised protection, not conquest. The treaty guarantees our independence, said another. Prince Vextar tried to restore order. These documents are fake. Human propaganda. But it was too late. Leaders from smaller worlds were standing up and walking out. They had heard enough. Zara looked directly at Vextar. I will never marry you. I choose freedom over your golden cage. Vextar's face twisted with rage. Then you choose death. He pulled out a weapon and aimed it at Zara. But before he could fire, Jake burst into the hall. He had fought his way through dozens of guards to reach her. Get away from her, Jake shouted. Jake and Vextar faced each other across the conference hall. The alien prince was bigger and stronger, but Jake was determined to protect Zara. They fired at the same time. Jake's shot hit Vextar in the shoulder. Vextar's shot missed Jake and hit the wall behind him, but the fight was not over. More guards were arriving. Jake grabbed Zara's hand and they ran toward an emergency exit. This way, Dr. Lina called. She had finished her work on the computer. I got the broadcast out. The whole galaxy heard everything. Outside the station, the battle was growing larger. Ships from neutral worlds were arriving to help the humans. The Empire fleets found themselves outnumbered for the first time in centuries. Time to go, Jake said as they reached his ship. But as they prepared to leave, Jake saw something that made him smile. On screens throughout the station, Zara's speech was being replayed. Her words about freedom and choice were being broadcast to every world in the galaxy. The revolution had begun. 6 months after Harmony Station, the galaxy was at war. But it was not the war anyone had expected. Instead of two empires fighting each other, it was dozens of smaller worlds fighting for their freedom. Zara's broadcast had changed everything. When people across the galaxy heard the truth about the invasion plans, they rose up against their rulers. Jake Morrison was no longer just a cargo pilot. He was now Admiral Morrison, leader of the Free Worlds Alliance. His small fleet had grown into a powerful force that included ships from 30 different species. "Status report," Jake said as he walked onto the bridge of his new flagship. It was called the Liberty, and it was much bigger than his old Iron Wolf. "Hegemony forces are retreating from the Kappa system," reported Captain Lisa Hayes. She was a human officer who had joined Jake's cause after Earth officially supported the rebellion. "The locals drove them out with help from our fighter squadrons." "Good news," Jake said. "What about the Valyrian front?" "Princess Zara's forces captured 2 more systems yesterday," Lisa replied. "Her father's empire is falling apart. Half his fleet has switched sides." Jake smiled. Zara had returned home not as a prisoner, but as a leader. She had claimed her rightful place as heir to the Valyrian throne, but only to tear down the old system and build something better. "Sir," called the communications officer. "Incoming message from Princess Zara." Zara's face appeared on the main screen. She was aboard her own ship, leading the Valyrian rebellion against her father's government. "Hello, Jake," she said with a smile. "I have news. Good news, I hope. The best. My father has agreed to surrender. The Valyrian Empire is finished." Jake felt a wave of relief. "What about Prince Vextar?" "Still fighting. But he's alone now. The Hegemony Council voted to remove him from power. They want to negotiate. It had taken months of fighting, but the tide had finally turned. The great empires that had ruled the galaxy for centuries were crumbling. In their place, free worlds were joining together as equals. But Jake knew the war was not over yet. Prince Vextar still commanded a large fleet, and he had sworn to destroy Earth before he was defeated. "Jake," Zara continued, "there's something else. Our scouts report Vextar's fleet heading toward your solar system." "He's making his final attack," Jake nodded grimly. He had been expecting this. "How long do we have?" 3 days, maybe 4. "Then we better get moving." Jake assembled the largest fleet the galaxy had ever seen. Ships from dozens of worlds flew together toward Earth. Humans, Valyrians, former Hegemony soldiers, and species that had never worked together before. They all had one thing in common. They believed in freedom. The final battle took place in Earth's solar system, near the planet Mars. Vextar's fleet was huge and powerful, but it was outnumbered 3-1. "All ships, this is Admiral Morrison," Jake said over the fleet communications. "Today we fight not just for Earth, but for the right of every being to choose their own destiny." The battle was fierce. Energy beams flashed between ships like deadly lightning. Explosions lit up space as vessels on both sides were destroyed. Jake piloted his own fighter craft, leading the attack on Vextar's flagship. Beside him flew Zara in her own ship. They had come so far from that first meeting in his cargo hold. "Jake," Zara said over the radio, "Vextar's ship is heavily shielded. We can't get through." "Then we get creative," Jake replied. He remembered his old Iron Wolf still docked in the Liberty's hangar bay. It was small and fast, and most importantly, it was not expected. "Cover me," Jake said as he flew back to his flagship. Minutes later, the Iron Wolf launched from the Liberty's hangar. Jake flew it straight at Vextar's massive warship. The alien prince's forces ignored the small cargo vessel, thinking it was just debris from the battle. By the time they realized what Jake was doing, it was too late. The Iron Wolf smashed into Vextar's bridge at full speed. Jake had ejected at the last second, but his old ship completed its final mission. The explosion tore through the flagship's command center. Prince Vextar was dead. His fleet, leaderless and surrendered within hours. The war was over. 3 months later, Jake stood on the observation deck of Harmony Station. But the station looked very different now. Instead of being a place where empires made deals, it had become the headquarters of the Galactic Council of Free Worlds. "Hard to believe it's all over," said a voice behind him. Jake turned to see Ben Carter approaching. His old friend was now Secretary of Human Affairs for the new galactic government. "Is it over?" Jake asked. "Sometimes I wonder if we just traded old problems for new ones." "Maybe, but at least now people have a choice in their problems." Jake laughed. That was true enough. The galaxy was messy and complicated now that everyone had a voice. But it was better than the old system where two empires made all the decisions. "Jake," Ben said, "the Council is meeting tomorrow to choose our next mission. Word is there are unexplored regions beyond the Outer Rim, worlds that might want to join our alliance." Sounds like work for diplomats, not old soldiers. Maybe. But they want someone they trust to lead the mission, someone with experience dealing with new species? Jake thought about it. He was tired of fighting, but the idea of exploring unknown space, meeting new peoples and offering them freedom instead of conquest. That sounded interesting. "Would I be going alone?" Jake asked. "Actually, Princess Zara volunteered to go with you. She says she's tired of politics and wants to see what's out there." Jake smiled. "Well, in that case, how can I refuse?" A year later, Jake and Zara were flying through uncharted space in a new ship called the New Dawn. It was bigger than the Iron Wolf but smaller than a warship, perfect for exploration and diplomacy. "Long-range sensors are picking up something," Zara reported from the co-pilot seat. "A solar system with inhabited planets. Friendly or hostile?" Jake asked. "Unknown. But they're broadcasting radio signals. Looks like they're trying to contact other worlds." Jake set course for the new system. "Let's go say hello." As they flew toward the unknown worlds, Jake thought about how much had changed. He had started as a broke cargo pilot just trying to make enough money to survive. Now he was an explorer, helping to build a galaxy where freedom and cooperation were more important than power and conquest. "What do you think we'll find?" Zara asked. "I don't know," Jake replied, "but whatever it is, we'll face it together." The New Dawn flew on toward new adventures, carrying the message of the Free Worlds Alliance to the far corners of the galaxy. Behind them, billions of beings lived in freedom because one human had decided to do the right thing, even when it seemed impossible. And in the cargo hold of their ship, carefully maintained and ready for service, sat the old Iron Wolf. Jake would never sell it or throw it away. It was a reminder of where they had come from, and proof that even the smallest actions could change the entire galaxy. The story of Jake Morrison and Princess Zara had become legend across hundreds of worlds. But for them, it was just the beginning of their real adventure, building a future where everyone could choose their own destiny among the stars.